It's me again. This is a review for Vox. Okay. So, I'm very glad we pick up right where we left off in the other episode. Do not go ahead and, like, pontificate and don't dig right into that instead. They did kind of drag it out a little bit in the beginning, but it's fine. I do like how the memory is displayed. I thought it was good. Oh, I'm sorry if my swinging is making you nauseous. I figure that my face is in this enough that you don't mind it, but it is what it is. So I like how the memory is displayed. He had the song playing. He had, like, the vines and symbols and blah, blah, blah. I thought that was cool. You know, I'm all for, like, the symbolism, imagery, shit like that. And then, once she opens the door and she freaks out and she walks in, she finally tells him what it is. It's the Borg. I'm actually mad at myself that, like, I didn't think that. Maybe it's because... Ooh, allergies. Maybe it's because we're so used to, like, the Borg being black and dark and stuff like that, that red didn't seem like it belonged to them in some way, shape, or form. But I guess it was all part of the door or something. It's good that it is. I mean, it makes sense. Everything comes full circle and stuff. But in the same token, I was like, God damn it, you had this whole entire universe that you could have done cool shit with, and this is what you decided to do. So, fine. It's fine. Whatever. I will tell you one of the things that I found was very terrifying is a false diagnosis. The fact that, you know, Locutus led his whole life and died ultimately from this thing, and turns out that it was a false diagnosis is fucking terrifying. Like, that's commentary on false diagnoses in the world, but here, you know, it is what it is. You know, the fact that it breeds biological issues and the trauma that comes with it and stuff like that, like, that's fucked. You know what I mean? Like, to think that there's something wrong with you. You know, there's stupid shit. This is a dumb little thing. When I was young, I was diagnosed with anemia. And it was, like, the first time I'd ever been diagnosed with anything. I have, you know, it's called beta thalassemia. It's basically Greek anemia. And, like, it's the first time you're ever diagnosed with something. And it's fucking terrifying. Because you're totally, like... is this thing gonna kill me? Now, granted, it's just I need to put more iron in my diet and stuff like that. But, like, you know, your genetics and worrying about the thing hanging over your head as far as your heredity's health is not great. It's all like one of those little things. Again, they like to poke into little areas of trauma that you don't really talk about, but here we are. We're gonna talk about this again in the next episode, in the next video as well, but, like, I'm really seeing a duty above family theme, and I'm not liking it. My right AirPod keeps going out, so I'm wondering if that means that you're not hearing me. So we'll see what happens. So, there it is. So, having said that, as I continue, duty above family. So, I feel like Geordi's the only one who's like, fuck it, family first, duty second. And then the rest of them, don't get me wrong, to some small degree, they're totally like, oh yeah, family first and then duty. But, like, I feel like some of them are so easy to, like, you know, the needs of the many before the needs of their few. And I don't know if I have that. So when Picard goes to go talk about what's going on and stuff like that, Jack's brilliant, you know, speech about cybernetic authoritarianism, is that whatever. I was like, what an excellent way to talk about what, like, if I have to explain to someone what the Borg are, that's the two words that I'm gonna use. You know what I mean? Like, very nice I like conciseness when it comes to that kind of thing. And again, the entire scene with them poking into the daddy issues. This is so great, going into daddy issues. Like, this season, I don't know if it's because of, you know, daddy issues of my own, but, like, it's just so great. How they're going into, you know, he has that whole, what about your duty to be a father, blah, 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 kind of thing. And then you could see that he's, like, massively aggravated. And then he turns his, like, skills on. And I was like, well, yeah, you fucking had to have known that was going to happen because fucking A. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. We're gonna talk about this a little again in the next video, but it's just dawning on me now that, like, now that Jack no longer is connected to the Hive, does he still have these capabilities or whatever? I don't know. We're gonna find out, because I don't know if you really want someone in Starfleet who can mind control if they get in a bad mood or whatever. Anyway, I wrote, oh, the Data comfort scene. So I had mentioned in the previous video that I was concerned that Data was not going to have, like, he was not going to become Data. And then just the simple thing of walking in and then saying to Picard, do you want me to say something to comfort you? And saying, you know, you'd be hard pressed to find something. And Data doing the most human thing ever and just touching his arm. Like, that, yes, into that. Very into that. Because that right there is very human to go ahead and do that. I'm not gonna lie to you, I had to watch this a couple times because whenever they all get sciencey as fuck, I literally get a little, all right, guys, we're going too fast. You got to slow it down for me, dumb it down for me, because we're getting very sciencey, and, like, it makes sense to y'all, but, like, I am not someone who's ever worked on a starship. So, there's that. I remember watching this and being like, Worf no mad science, man. Like, what's up? And now knowing what happened, knowing that, you know, they did the transistor thing, I think everybody who, like, warped had some measure of hive mind understanding, which is interesting because it's almost a weapon that turned against the Borg by creating that intelligence and sensitivity within the older generation. I kind of loved it's a weapon that turned against itself. I love that. And Worf is a good example of that. So let's see. Oh, fucking Shelby, I wrote. When Shelby showed up, I was like, ooh, I know this bitch and I don't like her. How do I know her? So then I went back and, like, you know, rewatched, like, her scenes and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is why I don't like her. Because she was hard on my boy Riker. Like, fuck this bitch. So it was interesting to find her doing her thing and then being like, aha. And then, you know, 5 minutes later, bitch gets 2 to the chest. And I'm like, I'm mean. It was weird. I was gonna ask, I like how when she's giving her speech, she's talking about the newest advancement, formation. Like, okay, maybe, I don't know a lot about the military at all. I just don't. And, like, I'm okay with that. But is it like, isn't formation, like, one of the first fucking things that you learn in, like, the military? And, like, you learn some kind of formation in some way, shape, or form. So why is ship formation, like, the new fancy? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But it's whatever. I wrote this down too. Jack gives up so fucking easy. Like, I get it, bud. Like, you're alone. You just had a fight with daddy and stuff like that, and you feel alone. But he gave up so easy. Like, there was no back and forth. There was no fighting. There was no in-depth conversation. He just gave up. Like, mad fucking easy. And it was like, that doesn't... I feel like the kid who gave up is not the same Jack we've been following all, you know, the past 8, 9 episodes. Like, who the fuck is this dude? So I did not like that. I do like the concept of the young being taken. I mean, it fits into the story that, you know, you can manipulate their prefrontal cortex or whatever because it's still developing. But it's also, you know, they said there's a throwaway line at one point where they're like, we've taken the strongest. Yeah, when they're 25 and younger, they're much more strong than fucking we are. You know what I'm saying? Like, these bodies got some miles on them, obviously, and those bodies definitely got some miles on them. There was that point. There were a couple points in this that I really loved. So, like, they did the radio sounds where they were just listening out to, like, radio. You know what I mean? Like, you were listening to the radio to the other ships and listening to all the shit that goes down with them. It was dark as hell, and I don't know if there's anything they could have done that was more ominous. Like, there was, again, on the podcast that I listened to, there was one point that they did so much with, like, so little with this, and like, that's the shit that gets scary. So, first of all you're doing is listening to, like, people do, and there could be just some dudes in the studio going ahead and making pew pew sounds, and, like, you hear shit's going on, and then, like, they just act that way. But, like, there was, Benasat or something like that, who, like, says, you know, we retook the bridge, and then all you watch, old school, is, like, a triangle on a screen get taken out of formation and then disappear. Ominous as fuck. Old school as hell. Like, honestly, Atari, like, you know, back in the day, in Shatner's time, You know what I mean? Like, you would have had that kind of graphics, and still ominous as hell in this specific situation. So I thought that was very cleverly done. Another thing that I thought was cool was, Shaw. Let's talk about my boy Shaw. So Shaw, you realize that Shaw's mechanical knowledge is ultimately the thing that, like, helps them. You know what I mean? And he's like, aha, this radio wave. This is, let's go to mechanics. Let's basically go to where I started, because that's the thing that's going to save us. Like, thought that was cool. That was a nice little, but the moment that they did that, I was like, oh, my boy going to die. Like, this is fucked. And I was not wrong. So literally right after that happens, the scene where, she's like, I'm right with you, and Rafi's like, fuck that, I ain't leaving you, and stuff like that was so great, with everything that's going on. And then, when she's like, Captain, stay with me. He's like, no, you're the captain, you have the con 7 of 9. Like, come on, you're killing me, Smalls. Great scene. And then Raffi right next to her when it happens. I wrote down robots right. I find it funny that the former Borg chick is referring to Data as the robot. And then, she's like, the robot's right. And everybody looks at her like, bitch. I thought that was funny. Data's sarcasm. Oh, he's so great here. And again, more ways that, like, we are adding layers to Data that I enjoy. Where he's like, I hope we die quickly. And Geordi gave him the look like, fuck, shut up. Yeah, so that was so great. So finally, when we show up and there's the Enterprise D, I love so much about the Enterprise D, pretty much everything that you loved. I noticed how much brighter it is. Like, why are we so keen on making it dark and sleek and stuff like that? Like, the clumsy in me is totally like, people must bust their ass on, like, the new ships all the time, especially, like, someone trying to keep it clean. That shit looks slippery as hell. You know what I mean? Like, it's all shiny and looks slippery as fuck in order to be able to do that. It's all dark as hell. Like, that's got to be bad for your eyes. Like, what happened to making it bright? What happened to carpet? What happened to all that good stuff? Watching everyone's reaction to it was lovely. Like, it was another character we were missing. We definitely brought the whole crew back together, which I loved. There's just so much. I did not observe the seating thing. I actually went back and watched them go sit down, and I actually loved the point that you said. Like, I agree. Like, sitting down, just, like, putting on an old shirt that, like, you just love, or old shoes that you just love. So I just love that part. Yeah, it was such a great part, and then it left looking majestic as fuck. So I, once it was done, I was like, it's funny, it leaving left me very hopeful for where we were going. And I was like, where the fuck are we going next? But, like, very hopeful, very excited, all that good stuff. I actually love this episode a lot. My only concern, I have 2 concerns here. One is, I mentioned it earlier, Jack fucking leaving, like, and like, bouncing out and then being, assimilated in 3.5 seconds. And, the second, 3 things rather. Shaw dying, which is bullshit, but obviously we had to do stakes. We talked about this. Stakes is important. I get it. Anyone could die, but we got to kill one of my favorite characters, one of the fan favorites. And then 3, the changelings not appearing. And I'm going to mention this again in the next episode. No mention of changelings in this. Like, is there, I get it. It's weird. They had up until Surrender. And then we find out in this episode, like, the Borg has 2 episodes, like Vox and Last Generation. And, the other ones had, like, 8 episodes. The Changelings had, like, 8 episodes. And I still want more. Like, it's odd how they did that. Maybe it's because the universe is just so big. And I wish that we would play around with more of the bad guys in the universe more. Or give us a new bad guy we've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like, let them come from someplace random. I don't know, like, I just feel like the Borg is, like, yawn, like, we keep going back to them, and I get it. They are definitely, the ones that fucked up Picard more than anybody else, but in the same token, anyway. So, that is the end of Vox, and I'm gonna go get started on The Last Generation. Alright, bye!